Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our updated quarterback rankings. After this first week of NFL training camp, we had the big news with Justin Fields' injury. One of his linemen stepped on his toe. What was feared to be maybe worst case scenario. Uh, I would have thought the worst case was like an Achilles tear or something, because initially all it was said on Twitter was that he was carted off the field with a lower leg injury. Now, the latest updates are that it was a dislocated toe, not the big toe. So, worst case, I would say it's 6 to 8 weeks, but Fields was spotted running around on the field the next day at camp, so I would think that he'll be ready for week one. It's probably a 2 to 3 week injury. So who knows how much practice time he actually gets, so that could hinder his performance because it is a new offense for him, so he's got to learn the new offense, learn the new players, especially Garrett Wilson. However, at least he has played with Garrett Wilson back at Ohio State. So that's good in that regard, but now we're going to update our quarterback rankings, and of course, that will mean we probably have to move Fields down a little bit because of the possibility that he misses time. Now, just breaking news, I did just do a short on it, but Joe Mixon is now expected to miss extended time with the Texans. What does that mean? Well, he was on the PUP list for preseason. Now, they can pull them off the PUP list at any time. Basically, by putting them on the PUP list, they can get another player into practice. But what I'm thinking is, worst case, this is some sort of Liz Frank injury, meaning that he could miss the entire season. Best case scenario, he's going to sit out the entire preseason and be ready for week one. So we have quite the range of outcomes here for this injury. Foot injuries, as you know, can vary quite significantly. So we'll keep you updated as much as possible. This does bump up Nick Chubb's value. Obviously, Chubb got a little bump when he initially signed with the Texans because he looked like the for sure backup to Mixon. Now, Woody Marks is in the mix. The rookie out of USC is a great pass catcher. He doesn't have a 3-down skill set, so he was probably set up and drafted initially for that third down role, and I think he'll just keep that third down role. So I don't know that Woody Marks' value actually really rises here. I would be going out and kicking the tires on Nick Chubb if you are a Joe Mixon owner, though, definitely. Maybe as high as a second if you have extra draft picks, but maybe look at if you've got some extra young running backs. For instance, I just put out an offer of Devin Neal for Nick Chubb in one of my leagues that I owned Joe Mixon in. So I'm not completely desperate at this point, desperate enough to go out and try to put a ton of draft capital in to go buy somebody to replace Nick Mixon yet, but yeah, it is a little concerning, this report for Mixon. Anyway, we're going to get into the quarterback rankings. How's everybody doing out there today? If you got any questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat. I'm ready for you, especially pertaining to the quarterback position today. But you can ask anything. I'm all ears for it. And so let's get the QB rankings up. I did do a quarterback rankings update just a couple of weeks ago, but we've had a little bit of information now that camps got opened up, and yeah, so we'll try and keep these updated as quickly and efficiently as possible for you. So if we start up at the top, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, first tier 1A, so to speak. No movement there. Tier 1B, Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, no movement there either. Nothing significant happening with with any of those teams. I mean, Jaden Daniels does have Terry McLaurin holding out. I expect McLaurin to get into camp at some point here and get that contract situation resolved. But of course, who knows? So stay tuned for that. But for now, I am not moving Jaden Daniels down in my rankings because of that. If we go down to tier 3, we've got a little larger tier here. Some of the youth, as well as a couple of veteran quarterbacks in this range: Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Drake May, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and J.J. McCarthy. Now, after thinking it over here, I'm going to flip Bo Nix and Drake May around. So let me get down into the rankings here so that I can. I don't know why this isn't working for me. Okay, give me 1 second here. Let me get it set up properly for you. Let's do this. So anyway, I think that Bo Nix, having proven himself last year with a little better talent around him, I think that he's worthy of being ahead of Drake May. Both very talented quarterbacks. Both have some good legs underneath them, so they'll get you some points that way on the ground. And you'll also, all right, this is how we're going to do it. I just wanted to edit this for you, but I guess I can't do that right now. So anyway, let's go back to it up in here. Okay. Let me try it one more time. But the main reason I think, Bo Nix doesn't have a new offense to try and decipher like Drake May does. Like he has to go over with Josh McDaniels a whole new offense, and so that's a little tougher to do. And so I think Bo Nix should be ahead of Drake May because of that. So, yeah, this is a little frustrating. Okay. Nope, can't do it. Okay, well, here's what I'll do. I'll just bring up my quarterback rankings and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And then you can check it out on the Patreon. That's how we're going to do this. All right, how's that sound? Okay, there we go. That's what we're going to do. So, listen up. Here we go. Here is the current rankings for you guys. As I said, the first couple of tiers there, Tier 1A, Allen, Lamar, JD. Then Tier 1B is Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. Then we get to Tier 3, and we've got no movement other than, like I said, I'm going to switch Bo Nix and Drake May around. After that, Caleb Williams and the rookie slash second year player J.J. McCarthy, who hasn't taken an actual NFL snap yet, but with the talent around him, I feel pretty secure placing him as QB 11. Then we get to tier 4, which is loaded up with plenty of veteran quarterbacks, not quite elite quarterbacks, but guys that can still definitely get you some good points in superflex formats. I'm totally fine with these guys as my QB2. If you go a lot of wide receivers early, maybe your QB1. If you get one of these guys as your QB1, I'd like to ideally have 2 of these guys from this tier as your quarterbacks, your top quarterbacks. But up top, we've got Baker Mayfield at number 12. Baker did finish in the top 5 in many formats last season. No reason to move him down. Brock Purdy at 13. Now, need to watch the 49ers camp to see their wide receiver situation, but George Kittle's healthy. Christian McCaffrey, on all accounts, is healthy. So with those 2 in the mix, I don't know if it matters much as long as they've got at least one of the dudes at wide receiver. Jawan Jennings is healthy. However, he's holding out now because the other 2 guys are hurt. So I think that one of them at least will be ready for week 1 for Purdy. But again, he has George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. He's still going to be a solid offense in San Francisco. Next up, we've got Kyler Murray with Trey McBride and the unproven yet very talented Marvin Harrison, who struggled at times last season, but yet if you put his numbers up against some previous year's rookies, they actually were pretty solid. So I'm not hitting the panic button on Marv at all. Then you've got CJ Stroud and Jordan Love, pretty similar in my book. Stroud does have Nico Collins, so that's why I have him ahead of Love. After that, you've got Trevor Lawrence, who could definitely move up the rankings, getting the newly acquired Travis Hunter. You've got Liam Cohen's offense coming to town. Solid stable of running backs there for T-Law. And so I'm excited for T-Law this season. After that, you've got the unproven Michael Penix, the rookie from last year, played 3 weeks, just pumped the targets to Drake London. He's excited about Kyle Pitts. I'm not excited about Kyle Pitts, but, only downside here so far is a little injury to Darnell Mooney. Let me check Darnell Mooney out, and I'll bring him up here quickly just to check on that for Michael Penix's. Okay, so it's he hurt his shoulder. He's out multiple weeks. They're saying a few weeks. So what does that mean? He'll probably sit out the preseason. So that isn't great news for him to build his rapport with Michael Penix, but they did add Rondell Moore this offseason. So there's pieces there. Ray McLeod's still in town. So Ray McLeod definitely stepped up last year when there were injuries. I think Mooney got hurt last season for a little while. And so Ray McLeod definitely can fill in for the time being. But it sounds like Mooney should be ready for week 1. After Penix, we've got Cam Ward. Now, some people may have Cam Ward higher, but for my money, I'm going to take somebody like Penix who proved that he can definitely play at the NFL level already. Cam Ward we're unsure of. So if you want to take Cam Ward over Michael Penix, fine with me. But I'm going to take all of those veteran quarterbacks over Cam Ward for now. And then we'll see what Cam Ward... I mean, if Cam had better receivers around him, like a better offense, I would consider it. But look at the weapons that Michael Penix has. Look at the weapons that Trevor Lawrence has. Even the weapons that Jordan Love has, all right? They're all better than what Cam Ward has. And so as good and talented as Cam Ward is, until they get some more proven talent there in Tennessee for him, I'm going to lean these other veteran quarterbacks over him. All right, let's slide down the board, get into where some movement definitely will be happening. All right, we get to tier 5. We've got some other veterans: Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Bryce Young, and then Justin Fields. And so Fields is where I want to get into some discussion. So we talked a little bit about it in my previous video last night. Now, when we talk Justin Fields, Fields is amazing as a fantasy quarterback. He's not great as a real-life quarterback as far as wins go so far in his career, but that can change. Okay, he's got Aaron Glenn as the head coach, new offensive coordinator for him. Things seem to be going great, right? Then he gets stepped on toe by an offensive lineman. And so I don't know if it's just because he's on the Jets or what, but it's not a great start to training camp here for Justin Fields. Now, he did show up at camp, right? And it says he participated in 7-on-7 drills today. So I don't think that 6 to 8 weeks is a realistic timeline. Now, just because he's participating in drills today doesn't mean that, this toe couldn't be fractured and things could develop over the next couple of weeks. So I don't know that I'm necessarily going to move him down the rankings much. I mean, I could see putting Jackson Dart over him. I don't know if I'm going to move Sam Darnold over him. Definitely not Tua. Tua's got his own injury issues, and definitely not Geno Smith. So I think I might just move Fields down a tier. It's tough. It's a tough call with Fields because he just has a 2-year contract with the Jets, and they can get out of it. So if they have a crappy season this year, you could see them drafting a quarterback next year in a much more heavy quarterback class. There's not, I'm, put it this way, I'm putting my money on Arch Manning coming out in 2027, but that still leaves a good amount of quarterbacks next year. You've got Grant Newsmeyer, Klubick from Clemson, the dude from South Carolina. So it's a much more deep quarterback class. I don't know if the high end is any better than this year with Cam Ward. I don't know who the number one quarterback is going to be. These guys are going to have to battle it out on the field and in the trenches of the NFL Combine to prove to the NFL scouts who the number one quarterback is next season. But I'm just getting into that because the Jets could definitely be in the market for a quarterback next year if Fields fails to win ball games. Fields is very exciting, and he puts up great fantasy numbers with his legs, but and it should bode well for Garrett Wilson with him hyper targeting him. But yeah, it comes down to how good can Breece Hall be? How many touchdowns can we expect from Breece Hall? How many red zone opportunities is this offense actually going to have? They have a decent defense. Aaron Glenn, of course, did a great job in Detroit with the defense. Can he replicate that in New York? It's just a very polarizing opportunity here because Justin Fields is definitely a top 10 quarterback when he's playing just because of the rushing upside. And yet you don't have any guaranteed security there with the contract, even though it's a 2-year deal, really is just 1 year. Same with Sam Darnold in Seattle. So both are sketchy. Now Tua has his injury issues with the concussions. Any snap could be his last. Then you've got some much older veterans in Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford, then the 2 Colts quarterbacks, okay? Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. So I'm going to pretty much keep it the same. I probably, though, will move Fields down, probably below Jackson Dart here at quarterback 24. Okay? Then we get to tier 7, and this is the ugly tier, the last of the relevant quarterbacks that could possibly start this season. Now, Will Howard is not going to be the starter in Pittsburgh. now that Aaron Rodgers is in town. Um, and we have Aaron Rodgers up at the top of this tier here, then Tyler Shook, then Joe Flacco. And that's what I want to discuss is the Cleveland quarterback situation because it presents an opportunity for you to get some points if you are in a situation where you're weak at your quarterback 2 or 3 spot, or if you're in a best ball league. Of course, any quarterback can get you points in best ball on any given week, especially somebody like Joe Flacco who can really sling it. They still have some decent weapons there in the wide receiver room in Cleveland. You've got Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Deontay Johnson. Of course, you've got David Njoku and now Harold Fannin at tight end. So, I mean, they've got some weapons there in Cleveland. Now, things didn't go so well, or aren't going so well for Quinshon Judkins in the backfield, but you still have Dylan Sampson, the rookie, as well as Jerome Ford. So that should be an okay backfield, even if Judkins can't or is on the commissioner exempt list, which would mean that he'd be out indefinitely until he's pulled off of that list. So a lot of interesting leeway here in Cleveland, but that does present an opportunity when you have an ugly, unsure situation. That presents an opportunity for you to gain some value. Like, think about it, if Jerome Ford ends up leading this backfield this year, like, he's been worth no more than a third at best this offseason. If you get the number one running back, even on a crappy team like Cleveland, you're going to be getting some points, right? At wide receiver, if Joe Flacco is the quarterback for the entire season, like, we all saw what he did a couple of years ago in Cleveland. Last year in Indy wasn't so great, but it was still okay. If he's slinging it all season and the Browns are winning some games and they're in the playoff hunt, well, then we're not going to see Kenny Pickett. And we're probably not going to see whichever rookie wins out that little battle there between Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. Now, that's where it really gets interesting here in the rankings. I am definitely going to move Shedeur Sanders up the rankings to right in here with Jalen Milroe. I'm not sure who I'm going to have higher. I'll probably put Shedeur Sanders higher because he at least at the moment has a chance to start the season for his team. Now, I do think that it will be Joe Flacco to start the season, unless Shedeur really tears things up. But if Shedeur is looking good sometimes, but not so great some other times, and coaching staff, of course, if you saw the NFL draft, they weren't very excited about Shedeur. And so you could see Shedeur be going on the block. And, you know, when the initial injury for Justin Fields came out, right away the New York media was like, hey, let's trade for Shedeur Sanders. Well, could that happen? Of course it could happen. Will it happen? I don't know. But Cleveland's definitely going to have to make a choice with their 4 quarterbacks, you know, unless they're going to try and put Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur on the practice squad. But I don't know how they work that around getting them poached by some other team. So what I think Cleveland is trying to do ideally is showcase their 2 rookies and then deal one before the beginning of the season, because you know, there's not a whole lot of great quarterbacks out there in the NFL, and if Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel both look good, well, they can just kind of shop them, play Joe Flacco, shop the 2 rookies, and get the best deal for either one that they can get. I would think that Shedeur, with the name recognition, would probably get more out on the open market if they're both playing well. But maybe there's some teams out there who were higher on Dylan Gabriel, and so they might pay more. Maybe they'll give Cleveland their 3rd rounder back, right? If they get that, at least for Dylan Gabriel, I think they'd be happy with that. Roll with Shedeur Sanders as the 3rd or the backup quarterback. I think that Kenny Pickett ideally is like the backup quarterback, right? And then you've got Shedeur Sanders just sitting there watching, gaining knowledge from somebody like Joe Flacco. Now, whether Shedeur Sanders can actually do something like that, I'm not buying into that, honestly, and that's why I still have him ranked so low. I don't think it's in his DNA to just sit and watch, right? He wants to be playing, as do all of the quarterbacks. They want to be playing, but I don't know that he can sit and watch and be a good teammate without getting in the action, right? That's my opinion. That's how I'm looking at Shedeur. It's why I literally have, I think, one share of the guy. So I wasn't buying into him prior to the draft. I was liking Jackson Dart, and then especially after the draft, I was completely out on it. So yeah, that's my take on it. I think that either Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel will get traded at some point this offseason, but I am going to move Shedeur up the board because he has looked good in camp, but so has Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. Flacco is the assumed starter right now, but Flacco falters a little. I don't know how much action Flacco will get actually in preseason games, because it'll be interesting to watch. If they sit Flacco completely, that would be the best indicator that the job is his. Okay, but if they make him play a few series or a whole quarter or a whole half, maybe it could possibly be just to get him some repetition with the new receivers. But my bet is that Flacco just sits out the preseason games, and then they try to showcase their other three quarterbacks so they can get the most in draft capital for any of those three, honestly. And I know the coaches weren't excited about the draft pick of Shedeur Sanders, so he could be on the way out too if he looks good. If we look at some of the others, I've got Tyler Shook there at 32 versus Spencer Rattler. I wasn't very impressed with Rattler last season. He had a few good quarters here and there, but Tyler Shook, he's really got to mess things up, I think, to not get the start week 1 over Spencer Rattler. If Kirk Cousins down here at 41, he's of course the backup to start the season with Penix, probably the best backup in the NFL. And so if Atlanta isn't looking great to start the season, you could see either Cousins come in to replace Penix. I doubt they do that. But if another team is looking for a quarterback, you could see them ship Cousins out. I just don't know how they're going to work around his contract. Over in New York, I've got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston listed here. Jackson Dart, of course, was listed up at quarterback 24. I'm going to move him up one step ahead of Justin Fields, but yeah, I think the job is Russell Wilson's to lose. He should start week 1. Whether he makes it through September is yet to be seen. It's a tough situation. You just have Malik Neighbors as a receiver. Other than that, Wan'Dale Robinson is okay, but not a whole lot of talent there. It really comes down to is Wilson winning games? If he's winning games, that's going to help save Dable's job, really. And so either Russell Wilson is winning or he gets benched and then he shows Jackson Dart some promise. Because if Jackson Dart looks good and they go 7-10, that could save Dable's job. I don't know. It's a rough situation in there in New York, because if you fire Dable, then you've got Jackson Dart, who you just drafted the previous year for the new regime, and it's just an ugly situation because the new regime might not like Jackson Dart. So then what do you do? So I don't know. It seemed kind of ass backwards for me with the Giants and how they did that, but nonetheless, that's who they have. Now you see Jalen Milroe sitting in there at 34. Love his upside with his rushing ability. I mean, the dude has wheels better than Jalen Hurts. Okay, now can he throw the ball? He does not come into the NFL with as good of a passing technique as Jalen Hurts did. And if you remember Jalen Hurts, that was the knock on him, was that he wasn't a great thrower. So that's what we're looking at with Jalen Milroe. But whether Milroe is actually QB2 to start the season, we don't know. But if he gets in, he's going to score some points for you. So that's where I'm at on the quarterbacks. Leave your comments in the section down below. If you disagree with any of mine, go ahead. Let me know how stupid I am. That's fine. That's what I'm here for. I want to hear your input, and so we can talk about it and get each other both better at Dynasty Fantasy Football. So go ahead and smash the like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon. Again, it's just $3 a month. You'll have all my updated rankings at all positions there. And of course, the chat room where we talk about our trades that we're trying to make, maybe some pickups, discuss some philosophy. But mostly, of course, it's Dynasty and it's trades that we're talking there. So go ahead, join the Patreon. Tons of fun. We've got Hergot, Steve, bunch of guys in there giving their best. Matt English, of course, as well. So stay tuned for more updates on the rankings, as well as news and notes from training camp as we move along here in the NFL preseason of the 2025 year. And thank you for joining this Saturday. We'll see you soon. Remember, never stop working.